Hello, I'm Sarah from Turn Back Time. It's day 40. Sounds like a long time, but I feel like I started this yesterday. But it can't have been yesterday, because today I have hit 179 pounds dead, still dropping 81.1 kilos, and my hips are now 1/4 of an inch off 37 inches. Remember that ideal body, 36, 26, 36, where it's not impossible? My chest is already there. And it truly hasn't been in any way difficult. There's been no deprivation. I eat truly lovely things, and it's making me comb through recipe books to come up with something even nicer and nicer every day. There are some great resources on Facebook that you can follow, and the wider web too, as well as my own Turn Back Time 2024 website and my book. Even if you didn't cook much before, you might be starting at least to assemble your own foods. The main rule to be able to balance what you're eating is to pick recipes with the fewest ingredients possible, and only whole foods, i.e. no Frankenstein conglomerations, which you can't pronounce or you absolutely have no idea what they are. And be very careful of the portion sizes. I see lots of recipes for cookies and flapjacks and muffins, which I of course want, which proclaim that they're healthy. But when you actually watch on Facebook the ingredients being put in a blender, they add a huge amount of peanut butter and maple syrup and almond flour. Okay, it's gluten-free and sugar-free, but is it healthy? 1 block of fat is only 1/2 teaspoon of unsweetened peanut butter. Some of these recipes are calling for 4 tablespoons of peanut butter. That would be 24 blocks of fat. So you have to work out how many cakes or cookies that mixture is going to actually make at the end so you can balance and limit your intake, your portion size. When I look at almond flour, and I'd love to make things with it, because there'd be so much more choice. But then I think, hang on, 1 block of fat is only 3 almonds. How much flour can you make out of 3 almonds? So put peanut butter and almond flour in the same recipe for muffins, and you could be at 48 fat blocks very easily. The same goes for oats and maple sugar. 1 block is so little of both, you have to look at these recipes askance and measure it against the zone food list. I must admit that if there's any recipe calling for maple syrup, I omit it. If it's got fruit in it too, there's really no need for the maple syrup. It's still sugar and an unfavourable carb. Once your palate gets used to not having sugar, you really don't need it. You don't need it anymore. The extra sweetness is not necessary. For main courses, some sort of protein and vegetables is easy to balance. But when it comes to making, say, a chilli, for instance, again, you have to balance the ingredients of the chilli exactly. Try to use fresh vegetables and grass-fed, grass-finished beef to make it as well as healthy as possible. If you have to use ingredients from a tin or a can, check the ingredients closely and get only the ones with nothing but water and salt in the can. Cans are a risk because so many have BPA in the lining still, and that produce can sit in that can for months. Soaked dried beans are better, and fresh tomatoes too, fresh peppers, fresh mushrooms. Also, interestingly, canned kidney beans are high inducers of insulin release, while dried beans, even when soaked, are low glycemic, therefore far less likely to induce an insulin release. There's a recipe for chilli that still lets you have avocado and sour cream with your chilli in my Turn Back Time book. But you can just play around with the ingredients and balance them yourself to your taste. I don't really like to eat meat, just because of the animals really, and the way that they're treated. So I made some mushroom sausages the other day, and they were absolutely gorgeous. You get to add in all the good stuff like chia seeds and almonds, plus the mushroom and the onion and the oats. And they just take a couple of minutes to make. They're brilliant to set the kids on, get them to make them. And then you've got something that's really handy for a grab-and-go lunch. And they taste lovely with cottage cheese. Plain protein with lots of herbs and spices can also be really tasty and then different each day. And the herbs and spices speed up your metabolism too, so double whammy. The most important thing, if you want to use any shop-bought combinations of seasoning, is to read the ingredients on the back. Even taco seasoning is full of sugar and seed oil. If you read the back of a taco seasoning mix, well, you'd put it down immediately. It's quite scary. And we used to just take that and sprinkle it on our chicken without any thought. So much of what we've been doing, what I've been doing, has been without any thought at all for so many years. Someone asked me the other day if I was a food Nazi. She was saying that she was eating no sugar muffins, but the muffin in question was full of sugar alcohols like maltodextrin and aspartame, so I told her. I was about to answer and say, look, don't be silly, of course I'm not a food Nazi. When I stopped myself and I thought for a moment, and I thought, yes, I guess I am. I'm walking around scrutinising everything, and when I see someone eating a whole packet of something that crowing that it's 0 sugar, so it's healthy, I want to just grab it out of their hands and stamp on it. I'm so worried for their health. I was watching a Netflix series the other night, and this supposedly neurotic character was leaving a party because she didn't know if the salmon on the canapes was farm-raised or wild-caught. And she didn't know if the vegetables had been swathed in glycophosphates. And they were making fun of this character for being so neurotic. And I was like, yep, that's me. That's always going to be me from now on. Maybe you too. My loss of Honey Nut Cheerios was a killer, but they had to go. And shrimps, unless you buy them from a fish market straight out of the water, don't, because the chemicals in frozen shrimps are scary as hell. I've been eating an Italian mozzarella cheese, believing it's healthy, from Italy. Yesterday I turned over the packet and realised that it was made in Wisconsin. And there was a line on the back of the packet that said, no significant difference has been found in milk from cows treated with artificial hormones. And there was a little star next to that sentence, but it didn't relate to anything else on the packet. I went all over it looking to find out why. So now I won't touch that, because I assume that this mozzarella comes from cows treated with artificial hormones. God knows what that does in our body. Obviously, one meal out now and again is not going to kill us. But when cooking at home, where you can influence it, it makes sense to do the best we can, not to imbibe all the harmful stuff. You might go on the Zone website to try to find more recipes, or even look at the recipes in the back of the Zone book for inspiration. However, I've steered clear of a lot of them because they include things like protein powders. I think that the original book may have been written before the dangers of protein powders were actually known, or the dangers of soy or spray oils full of propellant became better known. Also, even in the Zone book, the exact number of carbs, protein and fat in each recipe is not listed for you. So I've done that with my recipes in the Turn Back Time book and on the website. Many meals are also not balanced. You can, of course, work it out for yourself and add stuff in, but my followers have made it clear they want it laid on a plate. Excuse the pun. Not sorry. See you tomorrow.